Today's daily recap for BTG Beyond the Gates is for Wednesday, October the 22nd, 2025. Well, Eva meets the hunka hunka. The hunk that happens to be Isaiah, Jacob's brother. Jacob's brother is back in town. He had been working on the North Pacific, so must be Northern California. Um, and he's back in town interviewing at Banneker for a counseling position. And his pen ran out. He's like, darn it, kind of talking out loud. And she's noticing who's this cutie, griping over his pen. So she gets up to give him her pen. And she goes, maybe this could help. And he starts writing with it and he goes, well, you know what? No, she goes, I'm Eva, by the way, and you could use my pen. But she had just been leaving a message for Ted in voicemail telling him to sign the paperwork that she left on his desk and blah, blah, blah. So he starts to try to write with Eva's pen and it won't work. And he goes, I guess it's not meant for me to do any work today. Your pen isn't working either. And she goes, what? And so she stands up and she goes over to him and he's talking. And so she goes, so you're studying, and it looks like a graduate course, right? Undergraduate course. And he goes, no, she goes, aren't you a little, and she's caught herself. He goes, old to be trying to get into undergrad school, right? And she looked at him. He goes, I'm not, but I help others reach their goals and get into school. He says, I have an interview at Banneker, and he's just studying up. He's saying, now, what he does, it doesn't make a lot of money. He says, but it's fulfilling work. He says, I love what I do. I love it when people can get on the path to reaching their goals and their dreams. And so she says, well, that's noble. She says, I would rather help people reach their dreams than have their dreams crushed. And she looked at him and she goes, I take it your family, doesn't agree with your line of work. They feel you should make more money? He says, different people have had their own plan for my life and what direction I should take. He says, but I took control of my life years ago, and I'm happy with my life. I make enough, he said, to buy more pens that work, to keep a roof over my head, and to have enough to go out and have fun. Because Eve was talking about, how long had he been there before he said, and then he said, look, he was raised there. He just moved a whole, forever away, a whole state, across the US to do his thing away from his family. But now he's back because of this great job offer. She goes, oh, then you don't need me to show you all the hot spots. But then when he says, and I like to have enough money to go visit all these nightly hot spots you were talking about. He says, that is if the company's right. And she just looked at him like, oh, really? Even she could flirt, right? Big time. So she heard her phone chime at the other table where she was. So she got up and she went, she goes, oh, he goes, is that your boss answering you? She goes, no, I got to go. It's my mama. So he goes, she stands up and he stands up and he goes, hey, here's your pen. And she said, you know what? Give it to me next time. And he's like, oh, okay. And in my mind, I'm thinking, but y'all didn't exchange any numbers. You're gonna have to just make sure you run into each other at Orpheus, and that's actually Uptown. Run into each other at Uptown? Okay. So she walks out the door and she kind of has her hand on the door frame and she's looking at him as she walks out. I said, go ahead, Eva, period. And at least that's not Tomas. You're doing all this too. Somebody different. But remember, Tomas told her, you need to date somebody else, right? So this guy, he's single free because he already said enough to, he didn't say I make enough to support my family or support my wife. He said just me, and I got enough to do what I need to do. Now, you want to know what the problem is going to be for Leslie is he don't make enough money for Leslie. Leslie's going to give Eva the blues, even though, watch, truth be told, yeah, now we could tell Jacob's family, the Hawthorns, are not, they don't live behind the gates, but they still run in the same circles. And actually, you know what, everybody? I don't know that they don't, that Elon and his wife don't live beyond the gates. I don't know that. Do you notice? They've never talked about the wife, but Anita and the wife are friends, just like they're friends with Elon. So that kind of leads maybe the wife has money. They just haven't introduced everybody they need. Thank goodness, because they could have, that would have really bombarded us with a whole bunch of people and other storylines we don't need yet. But they're bringing in Jacob's younger brother, or could be older brother. I don't know. But since they're pairing him with Eva, my guess is that's Jacob's younger brother that did not want to follow in his father's footsteps and be any kind of cop, right? So that's going to be interesting. And he likes to run or go down his own path. So that's going to also be interesting. Now they did spend a lot of time, oh my God, too much time with Jacob talking to Naomi. Now, through this whole ordeal, I have come to like Jacob's character the most of the men on Beyond the Gates right now. I thought Jacob was way too wimpish letting Cat run all over him. I really did. So I never really thought too much of Jacob. But the care that Jacob shows Naomi, woo, that man deserves Husband of the Year award. He really does. Because Naomi was going all down every path she could. What about 15 years from now? 10, you're going to regret this, that, and the other. He goes, Naomi, you don't know that. You're going hypothetical. Oh, he kept it calm, didn't raise his voice. When he got upset, he told her, give me a minute. I need a minute. And he put his shirt on. And she says, okay. Look, she was looking all at her watch. 50, 58, 59, 60. Okay. Anyway, Jacob, that minute was over. But they ended it in a good place. They ended the conversation in a good place. She's not pregnant, but watch, something else is going to be wrong with her. And I think they're going to go down a illness situation with Naomi. I really do believe that's what they're going to do. But that we spent a lot of time with Jacob and Naomi. Now Nicole was leaving the club and Leslie was bringing peaches to the club. And she stops Nicole. Well, And Nicole was gonna walk by, and Leslie kind of walks, steps in front of her, and Nicole stops. And she mentions something about Nicole, Dupree. I'm sure you was it Dupree? Because I know it's former Richardson. Because I'm going to be. Did you go back to Dupree? And Nicole just looks. She goes, "I want to introduce you to Peaches, my mother." And she goes, I think Nicole says, "Yeah, I'm back to Dupree." And she goes, "Good, because I don't want people getting us confused." Or she says, "Why?" She goes, "I don't want people getting us confused. I'm gonna be the new Mrs. Richardson." And Nicole just looks at her and said, and you stopped me to tell me this, why?" And Leslie just looked at him. Said, "Well, because now that your divorce is final, I'm gonna be the most stylish Mrs. Richardson. And Peaches is just looking at Dana, because she calls her Dana, like, oh my goodness, what on earth is happening, right? So Nicole says, Leslie, I could care less. She goes, if you get with Ted, if you don't get with Ted, whatever you do, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't concern me, nor will I give you from this point forward, nor will I give you a second thought. So she looked at Peaches and she says, "It's nice to meet you. Have a good day." And she walks away. Because, oh, before she walked away, Leslie goes, "I don't believe that at all." And that's when Nicole looked at Peaches, graciously said whatever, and walked away. But I say that to say this: the conversation shouldn't have even been that long. I do not understand why Leslie, they give her the importance of stopping their stride. You are walking out the dining area. So what? Leslie kind of stepped in for you. Say, "Excuse me." And actually, no, "Excuse you." And you walk around there and just walk away from, don't even let her talk to the back of your head as you're walking out. Don't give her the time of day. And she will feel so small, so small. And that's what, so, oh, Leslie's like, oh. So she sits down. And then the next thing they show is they're picking over their salads. And she goes, "This salad tastes horrible. Who's cooking back there? I'm gonna have a talk with, because I'm gonna send both our salads back." And Peaches says, "My salad tastes wonderful. I don't know what you're talking about. This is horrible." And so she goes, "No, it's not the salad. It's you wanted to humiliate that woman, Dana, and she wasn't having it. She showed class and she walked away from you. That's what you didn't get a rise out of her. That's what you're mad at. That is not, this salad is horrible." She goes, "No, the problem is you have no class." She told her, "You have no class. And you feel less than." I do I do not feel less than anything. I have more money than everybody in here. How could she say that, y'all? how could she say that? That little 1 million, $1.5 million check probably doesn't scratch the surface to a lot of those people in there, right? And so um Peaches says, Dana, money can't buy class. And so Dana says, well, money buys me a good salad. You don't believe this salad don't taste good? And she pushes her plate over to Peaches. Taste it. Taste this salad then. And Peaches looked at her. She goes, I don't want to taste your salad because my salad is just fine. And I don't even want to be here anymore. She goes, you want to leave? She goes, yeah, I want to leave. And so Leslie goes, no, no, it is my salad. And so Peaches goes, I told you. And as she's starting to raise her voice, she starts coughing and almost couldn't stop it. She goes, Peaches, Peaches, are you okay, Peaches? Somebody help me. Is there a doctor in here, Peaches? And so she catches her breath and she goes, look, get me home. Just get me home. So she takes her home. And I guess they didn't show this part. She puts her in her bed because we probably never gonna see Peach's apartment. That's a whole nother set, right? She comes pounding on Eva's door and she goes, thank you for getting here so fast. And she goes, what happened, Mama? You had me so scared. And she tells her what happened to Peaches. And she goes, I had to lay her in the back seat. She would not let me take her to a doctor or get her a doctor. And oh my God. And so Eva's like, oh no, is she okay? And then she goes, what happened? I was taking her to the dinner for the club. I mean, taking her to dinner at the club. And she just started coughing and couldn't stop. She goes, but out the blue? What was happening before? Because this just what happened. And Leslie looks at her and says, well, not necessarily out the blue. She goes, Mama, what happened? Well, we were arguing. She goes, you were arguing with a frail old woman in public, Mama? She says, I told you to leave her alone and to be arguing, right? And so she's like, whatever. She goes, I don't have, no, I'm just saying now, things have changed. It's like, the parent becomes the child. And I felt like that, I had to take care of her, blah, 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 whatever. Right. She just means, no, Eva, you're going to have to take care of her some more. More, definitely more. Right. But it did scare her. It definitely scared her. And Nicole not biting scared her. We're not scared her. She's realizing I got to do something else to get at her, right? Like I said, if Nicole would have been walking away from her months ago, she would know there's no way I'm going to be able to even get her to stop so I could spew some madness to her. So Vernon and Anita, the show opened up with they were closing a meeting with another donor who went ahead and is donating a lot of money to one of the causes, right? But this one was kind of flirting with Vernon and he was being smooth and Anita's standing behind the two in the foyer. And so, she kisses him on the cheek or, those little And he goes, thank you so much for your support and blah, blah, blah. Well, Vernon, of course I would continue my support of you. And then she looked at Anita. Oh, and you too, Anita. And Anita goes, mm-hmm. So she leaves, and Anita says, for years, she's been overly, you know, cheery or overly, what did she say? I forgot the word she said, overly something, where you're concerned, Vernon, and you don't have to just fan it on. And he goes, yeah, I do. Anita said, what? He goes, for one, for her continued donations, which we got again this year. And for two, Because look, to see Anita Dupree jealous, well, that's a turn on. And Anita says, I am not jealous, annoyed, maybe. That was too cute. So anyway, they're sitting down and they're talking, and Nicole comes walking in, and she goes, Mother. She goes, Oh, hi, Dad. Father. Does she call him Dad or Father? I think she calls him Father because Danny calls him Daddy. Um, she goes, I've come to apologize to you, Mother. For the things that I said, I was hurt and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm going on a new, letting bygones be bygones. I ran into that woman at the club. And you know what? I did not even react to her. And I'm not going to anymore. She does not matter. She goes, but I do understand me telling you that you need to, you know, empty that trust fund so she could have none of the money or, stop her from getting the money. And you pretty much put me in my place and told me you set up that trust fund for the descendants of Barbara. You didn't know Leslie was going to end up being one of those descendants, but your true intentions did not change. So be it. She gets to benefit from the money. She says, and you pretty much let me know, that's your business. And she says, and you know what, mother, you were right. Now that I've had time, I see what your intentions were. And this is just the way it was. And she says, yes. She says, however, I have decided that I'm not going to continue to fund that trust. I won't be making not one more payment into it. She says, now, Leslie has enough money because I have funded that trust well and invested well. She's going to live very well off for a long time. She says, but as far as me putting any of my fresh money into it, no more. And so Nicole says, really? She goes, yeah. Because of what she's done to our family, because of what she continues to try to disrupt. And then all of a sudden they heard the bulldozers and it's nighttime. They're like, wait, what? Why are they working at this time? Well, when they come back to the scene of them, Burnett has come back in and sat down. He goes, she slipped extra money into the foreman's paycheck if he would continue to work after hours. He says, but I reminded him that this gated communities has rules and bylaws on what hours construction can be done. And I reminded him that security is going to be making sure that they follow those rules to the letter. So he understands, right? And they just shook their head, right? So anyway, let's face it, Anita's not going to be putting any more of her fresh money. But look, those investments that are on autopilot that she made, those will probably still continue to fund, especially if they're automatic investments. Unless they're investments, no, I think they're automatic investments she had going into there. So, or they could be investments that she has in separate accounts outside. She would just wait for them to pay out and then put the money in. Could be that, but I don't know. Either way, we'll find. They'll talk more and more about it later because it's going to come out. They are definitely going to let Leslie know, you better start budgeting because if you keep spending the way you spend, for one, you only get paid out every 6 months and it's the same amount every 6 months. So if you spend it all in 1 month, that's on you, girl. You got 4 months of famine, 4 months of it. So anyway, let's see what else happened. Uh, I did not know Vernon and Anita have an elevator in their place because they decided they were going to get frisky. And she goes, "Ooh, okay." And so she goes, let's take the elevator. It's faster. And I said, elevator? And they go and there's a door off of that living room. Opened it up, elevator, nice size in there. And they keep closed the door. And I said, okay. Look, I can appreciate an elevator in a large house when you're a senior. I liked that. Um, let's see. And the last thing I'm going to talk about was no, two things. Let's get finish Nicole. Nicole is at looks like Uptown, sitting in one of the booths doing work. And Shanice comes in dressed up and she goes, Shanice, whoa, those scrubs don't do you justice, girl. You're looking good. And she goes, thank you. She goes, I'm gonna see maybe I'll meet somebody tonight. And Shanice goes on over in the direction of the bar area. So Nicole looks at her and she picks up her phone. She sends a quick text and she puts it down. And then within a few minutes, Carlton comes up and he says, I got your text. And saying you need a friend. And he sits down on the booth beside her and she goes, I need a friend. And she puts her head on his chest and she's just like, and he's just got his arm around her. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, y'all ain't gonna last. Carlton, you've been waiting all them years. And my whole thing is, I know you haven't been waiting all those years for Nicole. You may have been lusting for her all those years. But before the Ted scandal came out, there was absolutely no inkling that Ted and Nicole would ever be splitting up. So, mm, you know, you lucked up, Carlton. But somehow I just don't feel Carlton is gonna be the type that Nicole's really gonna want. That's it, everybody. Oh, no, no, no. Vanessa had the nerve to tell Joey she wants to be an equal partner in everything in that business. He goes, oh no. He goes, you working being in the capacity that you are protects you, Vanessa, right? You have limited liability. She goes, why does everybody think I'm such a delicate flower? I can handle way more. He goes, okay, you want me to send you, want me to tell you where I was sending Randy? He's going collecting for me, people that have fallen behind in their payments. He's got brass knuckles with him. Oh, he's gonna rough up a few people. He goes, maybe I'll have you tag along next time. She goes, I don't want to, work doing what Randy does. I want to work alongside you. What you do, partners in what you do. He goes, what you don't seem to understand, Vanessa, what Randy's doing, that's child play, child's play. Oh, I do that from time to time. you know, he says, uh, other stuff, he goes, you have no idea, nor do you really want to know. And so he goes, I haven't. She goes, well, I feel like, he goes, doesn't matter. He says, I'm going to tell you something, Vanessa. I only let certain people know. He goes, I let certain people know or get close enough to me, but only to know so much. He says, now you know how I feel about you. He said, but even you can't know it all. You can't have all the cards, Vanessa. She said, because when I feel like people are trying to threaten me, as some do, then I have to make sure that that threat is neutralized. And then she looked at him. She goes, you know what you just said a minute ago about making sure the threat's neutralized. Is that what happened to Doug? And Joey just looked at her. See, he's thinking, oh, you fishing. He says, I was with you when Doug got into that car accident. You asked me then, was I involved in it? And I told you no. Have you decided you just don't believe me now? He said, because it was even investigated. It was an accident. Doug was driving drunk. Okay. She goes, yes, I believe that you had nothing, or no, I don't believe you did anything to Doug. He goes, good, because it was a tragic accident. He said, but I'm just saying this. This is an ugly business. And I have a reputation out there, Vanessa. If you become more of a known partner to me out there, that reputation is going to also fall upon you. And you have a very successful real estate agency. You have, he goes, there's a lot of things that don't need my world tied to it, Vanessa, because I get a lot of scrutiny. And she's just standing there looking. And he goes, another thing that don't need to be tied you don't need to be tied too closely to me is your son Donnell. See, Donnell is here. Just like he didn't know how his father had changed the drinking, the gambling. He doesn't know that. He don't know the true side of you either, Vanessa. And if he truly hangs around and watches you, what do you think he's gonna think? And she goes, you let me worry about my son, Donnell. Donnell, and he goes, no, no. Donnell is a concern because Donnell, if he now sees you are way too much into my business and my life, that's going to put him there, Vanessa. And I can't have that. And she just looked at him. Yeah, you think about that, Vanessa. And I'm thinking, what is she talking about? You only got me at this, a little tenth. I want to be half. Oh no, you don't deserve half. He's been doing that all his life. So what you mean you want half? Want to be, equal partners. You don't deserve to be an equal partner of his. Come on, girl. And Dorothy, you want to. She's not thinking. I don't know what Vanessa's thing, her trip is. I really don't, y'all. So anyway, let's go to comment corner. Comment corner. And let me start my trusty, dusty timer. All right. Alicia says Naomi and Jacob use the same laptop, question mark. I think they have a shared drive on there, and he just used her so he wouldn't have to get out the bed, right? And Roy Fay said, my theory about Andre is international security. Soon after he and Danny got married, and they were back home one day, Andre received a phone call. Uh, Whoever he spoke to told him about the photo of him and Danny in Vegas getting married. He told the caller he checked the link and he saw the Photo. I remember him thanking the person. I think he's gone underground, and I don't think it's a jealous husband or trouble with the law. I wonder if it could be international security. For all we know, for all we know, his being a fabulous photographer could have been a cover. It's intriguing. No, it wasn't a cover. A lot of Andre's photos have made, uh, you know, won awards, and he's like, I'm not gonna say critically acclaimed, but he's a famous photographer. Davina said he's called a model maker. Davina says, I need Naomi and Jacob to seriously have another room in their home. Good grief. No home office or living room. I'm tired of their bedroom. I know. Claire says, I think Andre's hiding from someone. I bet he messed with someone's wife and that person's husband. Hubby is looking for him. Lucy says, Bill Hamilton better watch his back. And quit worrying about his ex-wife Danny and Andre so much. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, Bill. I know, Lucy. Cynthia says Bill is about to go. Uh-oh. Looks like he said asleep. And he gives her another black card. He investigating Andre, but didn't bother to find out about the fraud charges on the card. I know. Look into, well, Haley, honey, why does it say you took out $60,000 on this card? Right? And then Claire said, exactly. Cleo says, right. Um, Kelly says, while he's investigating, you would think the private investigator would find out something about Haley. Well, no, he's hired to do a job to find out somebody else. If he came in and says, hey, look, I got some information on your wife, Bill would be like, what? I never asked you to look into my wife. Right? Uh, and then Cleo says he would if he was investigating Haley. I know that's what I was saying. Black Purple Turquoise says Haley needs to hurry up to be caught. Since Naomi will not be getting poisoned, I believe due to the results we found out in this episode, she's actually not pregnant with her and Jacob's baby at all. More serious harm could come to Bill. I believe that too. He absolutely deserves not to just wait. He absolutely deserves it, not just for getting with Haley in the first place, but being downright abhorrent to Danny and her family. They got him where he is today, not him alone. It was her family name and connections that got Bill that law firm, and they never should have helped him establish, they should have never helped him establish it in the first place. He really uh creases me. Let's see. However, since of course he won't die, no, he won't. I hope this means Haley may be on her way out once her little get rich quick scheme is discovered and falls apart. I think so too. Everybody finished reading the last paragraph of Black Purple Turquoise comment. Alicia says Haley and Sammy might as well turn themselves in. Secret meetings in public, I know. Text messages plotting the dirty deed, telling Joey they're a thing. Really, BTG? Because look, that text message could definitely be pulled up, even if she tries to delete it. It's got a digital footprint. Alicia says, Bill's big butt lounging on that tiny couch was the funny moment of the day. And then Poboop says, he's too big for that couch. And again, having sex on the couch, don't they have a bed? I know, I say that all the time. Don't they have a bed? All right, everybody, that's Comment Corner. Comment Corner. I'll be back tomorrow with another daily recap of BTG Beyond the Gates.